Hello and welcome to episode 144 of the Arena Regulars podcast. I'm Zach,
And I'm Jeff.
and we're a source for drunken Magic the Gathering arena content.
That's right. Just a couple of regular dudes drinking some irregular beers and talking about Magic the Gathering, in particular, the online client MTG Arena.
Hence, arena regulars. Get it? Makes,
I get. Oh
yeah.
my God.
That's why we're called that. Uh,
Wow. It finally clicked. Oh
That's
my
right. So
gosh.
today we are doing our pre-game episode. So basically, we are getting ready for the party that is Murders at Karlov Manor. And so we're going to pre-game it with a few beers and a few cards we want to talk about. So this is all about the new set. Always exciting, always fun, always a good time. You know, people do say that the pre-game is usually more fun than the party. So
I've often
welcome.
said that.
Yeah, it's true. That's because you get too wasted at the pregame that when you go to the party, you throw up everywhere. Um, never happened to me ever. All right.
No, me neither. I don't even know
No,
what
no,
you're
for
talking
sure.
about. Yeah.
Anyway, before we get to that, each week we both bring a beer. Actually, we used to both bring a beer,
Sort
but
of
this
happens.
this week we are both bringing a beer. We rate them on a scale from bronze to mythic after we drink them. But with that, Jeff, what is on tap?
All right. So it is a sad day for me because after tonight, I'll have no more True History beers in my fridge.
Mm,
For the first time in quite a while. We've had True History a few times on the show. They're out of
mhm.
Toronto. They only do like old school classic styles, and everything we've had from them has been at least good, ranging all the way to great. And so tonight we have a battle of their Pilsners. So up
Mhm.
first, we have just a Pils, and it's a German style Pilsner.
Yeah, that's right. It's 4.8%. And that's what you had to say about it. It's just a Pilsner, you know.
Yeah. I
Let's
love the
see.
like branding on it. It's just a plain white like
Can.
yeah,
Like there's nothing
label
else to it.
with it just says just a pills
Hmm.
in the middle. It's like it's really in keeping with their philosophy of like we just make old
Beer.
classic styles, we make it well. It's like
Yeah.
this one's our pilsner.
Yeah. There you go.
Like what
All
more do you
right.
want? How much more do you want me to explain?
It's German style, and you should
Yeah.
know what that means. All right, here we go. Jeff, let's crack into this guy. Oh, baby. All right, we do have some magic news. So, we actually had a big update last week. You may have noticed that you had to download like 8 gigs of information.
On top of the seven we had to right before or whatever.
Yeah. So, there were actually a bunch of visual issues that came with that. So, like, there's some weird things with like sleeves. You couldn't look at the this board state after you were sideboarding, stuff
Oh,
like that.
that was annoying.
Yeah.
That was the
So,
worst one for me.
yeah. So things like that were really frustrating. And anyway, um, they did say like, "Hey, this was something that we noticed had happened." And the actual update is because we're working on the actual engine for the client, and so hopefully that means that there are people working to make it actually better, which is nice. So,
So, yeah, the thing that I wasn't clear on is Arena runs on Unity.
mhm,
Unity is not made by Magic. It's like a very popular platform for building games. It's the engine underpinning a lot of sort of, I mean, I hate to throw this term around because it's a meme in this community, but like
mhm,
indie developers who don't have the budget to build their own
mhm,
engine will generally use Unity or Unreal. Unity is more popular.
yeah.
When they say they were working on that side of things, like did Unity have some sort of update that made their game incompatible and they've just been like stalling on moving over to the updated platform or like
Yes, so I think that is actually what happened. Unity did have an update, but I like that there's something pushing them to do something about fixing the way that their fucking broken system is working. Because we know Arena is inherently broken. Um,
yeah. But just like updating if Unity released Unity 3 and there was previously Unity 2 or whatever. I don't know what version Unity's on.
yeah,
Like there's no guarantee this is going to be any better. Like it's just they just need to move to the new one because the old one's not being supported anymore. Um,
it's true. I like that if things break, they have to then like they have to put some effort into fixing some stuff. And I think that the more times that happens, the more effort they'll put into making sure that they're like break proof. I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt, Jeff. I'm trying to be positive here. Jeez.
Yeah, that's not how it works, Zach.
You're
That's
not
not how
helping me out.
it works.
Obviously, I don't work with computers, but I'm trying to be like
You
find
go
the.
for as long as possible before they force you to update, and then you're like, fuck, we got to fix everything all at once.
All
And then
right.
you complain that you didn't do it sooner.
Yeah. I fine. I get it. I get
Yeah.
it. Whatever. This weekend there's an event. It's the Timeless Metagame Challenge right before the set comes out. It's February 2nd to the 5th. So we did have a standard metagame challenge happen like last weekend. Now,
Hmm. I actually played in that.
yeah, I also played in it.
And that's when I was super pissed that I couldn't look at the board while I was
Right.
sideboarding.
Yes. Yes. Um, so there are two kind of things of thought here now. Metagame challenges are really good EV because you get a ton of packs. They're like you can spend like 2,000 gold to get in, and then like you can easily get your gold back and more. But it's cutthroat because if you lose once, you're out. But it's also
Yeah.
2,000 gold, so you don't really care. When you're getting,
And you, how many do you have to win to get that 2000 gold back? Like
it's only like
four?
four. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
four or something. I think three is like 15, four is two.
Which
You know,
4-0 is still, it's not nothing, but
Mhm.
it doesn't
Four.
feel that bad for whatever reason. Feels like if you
Yeah,
go three, you get like 1500, you're most of the way
and like
there,
a rare
and a
wild
pack
card or
or
something. Oh
something.
yeah, a
Or
pack. They do packs. Right, right, right. So the thing with this is like if you get 7 wins, you get 30 packs, right? Which is really great when the set first comes out.
right.
When you're winning 30 packs of like Lost Caverns of Ixalan and you already have all the rares from
Mhm.
drafting and you're just like waiting for mythics, it's kind of like not really exciting and like not something I'm super into. I got to like I didn't get a trophy. I got to like I only wanted to play Picnic Ruiner to be fair. So
Yeah.
that's the only deck I was playing. I got to like 6 wins and it was like great. And
Yeah.
it felt good, but opening the packs was like, "Oh right, there was I just got a bunch of like gem cards, which are good and fine. They just it's not as
Right.
exciting as like doing a metagame challenge right after the set comes out and then you win a ton of new cards to make more decks for
30
standard.
packs sounds way cooler than 600 gems. It just does.
Yes, it
Because
does.
600 gems is like not even a draft.
Yeah.
Um, it's not even 3 packs.
Mm-mm.
Um, yeah, I did a 6 and then I was like, oh, we got to push for the trophy. And then I got
Mm-hmm.
5. And then I was like, all right, well, that's enough for me.
All right. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
done.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
So I do think that the timeless one makes more sense for this weekend because I've been complaining about this. This weird like spoilers are out last week. We have like 2 full weeks before the set actually arrives on like into our hands. Really on Arena, it's like a week and a few days or whatever. But at least a full week before pre-release, and it's a really
Yeah.
weird time to play Magic because you're like,
Yeah.
I don't really want to draft the old set. I could do Arena Cube. Um, I guess I can play Explorer and Timeless. So then the Timeless metagame challenge makes a lot more sense now to be like, hey,
Yeah.
it. I doubt that MKM is going to really do that much for Timeless. So here, you can do this, and I don't even know what packs you get. You probably get a bunch of assortment of like old packs, I'm sure. Um,
Yeah, that's
but
what I was gonna ask. Like, it'd be weird if the rewards were still just LCI, but
I don't think they are. I think when they do other things like I'm trying to find the
even
actual
just Explorer events, I think
you tend to get older packs,
you,
like
yeah,
specifically non-standard packs.
yeah,
Tends to be the case. But anyway, I just thought that's something to look into. Will be super cool. I'll be busy with pre-release probably, so I'm not going to get into it. But you know,
yeah. I don't know if
it's
I'll have
there.
time to play it this weekend. But
We do have a qualifier weekend coming up February 17th and 18th, which is Murders at Karlov Manor Limited. This is awesome. I love when they do like limited events really, really soon after the set comes out. And this will be like 2 weeks, the second
I mean,
weekend.
the insanity is that the best of one qualifier will be on the 10th.
That's crazy.
The set drops the 6th.
Yeah, on Arena. So like you literally get to play. So I think what's going to happen is that we might focus a little bit more on some limited stuff just because it's going to be relevant. And
I'm
it
probably gonna try to qualify for that weekend, so
yeah.
I'll probably pretty much be playing only limited.
I mean like as soon as the set drops, I changed my streaming schedule so I'm just going to play
I may
those
even do
from
some
set.
like sealed, queues
Yeah.
in preparation.
We'll have a lot to say about it, that's for sure. So stay tuned for that if you're interested. And check out my stream. I'm regular Zach on Twitch. Next week is Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday because the set drops on Tuesday. So I will be drafting a lot, and that's all I'm
Hop
gonna be
aboard the
doing.
gravy train.
Yeah, that's right, baby. Gravy train. Um, but that's what we do in my stream. Come check it out.
Yeah, if you want to understand that joke, go check out his stream.
That's gonna be fun. But I did want to say, Jeff, there was a huge. This is huge news. Okay, I
Hmm.
think this is huge, and I can't imagine this being possible in something besides arena. And
Uh-huh.
this was so much fun. Okay, so there is this woman. So Niles, her Twitter handle on Twitter is Nile Joan Rivers, and then they just say Nile like the river is like their name or whatever. This is like an
What I think they may have played in that, like they might have done pretty well in that timeless tournament. That name rings a bell.
oh
I think they were
possibly
playing Amulet Titan and they like top eighted or maybe in the finals or something of that
oh
timeless tournament they ran a while ago,
oh
a
that's
couple weeks
cool.
ago.
I
I
did
think
not
so.
know
I
about
think
that, but
so.
I've recently basically been interacting with them on Twitter, and I didn't really realize that this person was so huge. But anyway, so she
I
made
think
up
she
this.
is a good Titan player in
Mhm.
timeless.
Well, she's also good at making up formats because there was a format that she made up that took Arena by storm this week. It was all over Twitter. I'm sure it was on Reddit. It like took over Arena itself. So it was called Niles Bat Heist, and it was amazing. I gotta say, I played this on Wednesday. It was so much fun. Like I had a blast.
It sounds real dumb,
It
but
was really dumb, but it's a lot of fun. So basically, let me read the rules out to you. So they have changed a little bit, but the original rules are there's only five of them. You start the game with 56 basics and four deep cavern bats. That's your deck. That's it. It's just like 56 swamps, four deep cavern bats. Number two, anytime you exile a card with one of your bats, you are able to add that card to your deck after you finish that game. The third thing is you can add any basics to your deck that you want, and you always have to keep four bats in your deck throughout the entire process. And then the game ends, the mini game of this bat heist, you finish the heist is once you play and you win one game. So basically the whole thing
because
is you
obviously the four bat 56 land deck is quite
doesn't
unlikely to win.
doesn't win the game.
Yeah.
Most of the time it's smart to just play best of one, though I did it both in best of one and best of three. And
So
this
you have to bat for your sideboard as well.
yes. Yes, you have to bat for
Yes.
your sideboard. You keep track of how many games you played, how many cards you stole, and how long it took you to actually complete the challenge. And this became huge, like to the point where our like all over Twitter, people were posting their bat decks. It was a huge thing. The point where like people on Arena were queuing against other bat decks with
That's
their
what I was going
bat
to
deck.
ask. What if I start and someone else starts their heist at the same time? We match against each other. We
Mhm.
both get nothing from that.
So they actually added a new rule is that if you bat someone else's bat, you get to add Aklazats to your deck, the Bat God.
Okay.
That was the new rule. Um, so
I like that. It's
it
pretty good.
was, it's crazy. It's a lot of fun. Every all of you should do this. Go and play Bat Heist. It's perfect right before the new set comes out because it's a weird mini game that you could only play on Arena. Like, there's no way you could play this in paper, right? Like, it just
No.
doesn't work.
Yeah.
And I had just so much fun. It did take me like 2 hours, and then I did it in best of three, and it was like 2.5 hours. Um, But in best of three, we actually won. I ended up winning against a fairies deck, and my I didn't think my deck was ready to win yet. Because
Yeah.
when you play the game, you basically just almost every match is just mulligan till you get a bat, try to get as many cards as you can from your bat, and then
Try to
you lose.
select not like the card out of their hand that disrupts them the most, but just
Hmm.
whatever you want to add to your deck the most.
So if you see them have like a Get Lost and a Wandering Emperor, you're like, I think Wandering Emperor is probably better for my deck, so I'll take that. And then they
Right.
kill your bat with the Get Lost. You're like, well,
Like what a
that's
bad opponent.
yeah, yeah, exactly. It's a very bat opponent thing to do.
Oh.
But lots of fun. And it actually got to the point where like Jean-Emmanuel Duprat was playing this and he posted his deck list
Oh
online.
damn. He's like
So
26 minutes.
mhm. the world champion of Magic was playing this format. That's how big this got.
That's crazy.
Um, and they officially opened a speed running portion of a website for this game, and when you play it you can upload your official speed running like time to
Nice.
how long it took you to heist. um Now when I was playing, like I had a rule that like you couldn't concede to your opponent. You couldn't just play bat on turn two, take a card, and then concede.
Right.
You had to wait for them
The
to kill
speed
you.
runners are definitely doing that.
Yeah, because you have to like, and I wasn't trying to do that. If I did it again, like maybe I would, but anyway, it was a lot of fun, and it was just cool
I
to
mean, when you're
see.
not playing anything, you lose fairly quickly.
You do, unless you play like against control where they're attacking you for like two every turn, and you're like,
Son of
can you just kill me faster,
a. Come
please?
on.
Because I'm still attacking with my bat, because I'm not gonna like just chump block or something, but like throw away the game. But it's still like, come on. Anyway,
Yeah.
um, it was super fun, and this is like one of the first times, besides like Gladiator, which is a arena only format that's like 100 card singleton. um we don't get a lot of like funny ways to use arena,
Hmm.
and I thought this was a really cool, innovative, creative way to play the client that
Yeah.
people haven't really brought to it. It's basically people being like, man, I wish I could play Commander on Arena, as opposed to what fun casual thing can I do on Arena that I can't do anywhere else, which
Yeah.
is what Commander ended up like. That's what how Commander was birthed. So like I think people just need to be more creative when we're talking about what we need to do. Um, and so this just felt like a breath of fresh air, and I'm so happy that Niles that she like put this together because it was so cool.
Yeah. Sounds pretty fun. When like I just saw your post that you're oh, I'm gonna be doing Niles Bad Heist on
Hmm.
stream. Come hang out. Like, what the hell is he talking about? So I had to like track it down. Or I think you maybe you posted it in
I
general
did
nonsense before you did that.
yeah, in our Discord, the Reader Regulars Discord. You should check it out. The link's down below. But come hang out if you want to play some hilarious bat heist mini games. It's a lot of
Yeah.
fun.
And I was just reading the rules. I'm like, what? And to
Hmm.
your point a little bit about how this can only really exist on Arena is like there have been plenty of cards over the past 20 years that do what the bat
Hmm.
does. The bat's arguably the best one that's been printed, but
Hmm.
that's just power creep. But there are plenty of card creatures that on ETB look at your opponent's hand and
Yeah,
exile something until it
like
leaves.
kite sail freebooter stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. And I've never heard of anything like this. And, the first sort of big one to come out on Arena is something like this occurs. It's because Arena facilitates that.
Yeah, yeah, so
And
cool.
because Niles is very creative.
Not
It's,
yeah, Niall is. I so I strive to be like her now because I
yeah.
think that this is exactly
Oh
what we
man,
need
don't
to
play
be.
Titan though.
I probably won't play Titan. Um,
You gonna be
but
a
no,
Field of the Dead Titan guy now? Just classic Zach
classic
playing the
Zach.
slow deck
Yep. I like long games and
that
only one
involves
victory.
most of your decisions are about which land you should play.
Hmm. One great thing about Niles Bat Heist, you can't take lands, so you can only play basics, and all your lands are
Oh yeah,
shitty.
that's cool. I saw your deck list from it. I'm like, oh right, of
Hmm.
course you can never get a not shitty mana base,
Yep.
and you're gonna have a multicolored deck because you can't just expect to hit a mono black player every
Yeah.
turn.
Especially when you play against the one person in Magic who's in their best of three queue is playing the Kami War, and you end up
So
taking
you had like three of those. It's
because
like,
I
what's
got
going
all three in the same
on?
match, and so then I was like, I guess we're a Kami War deck
I
now.
guess we're a Kami War all basics
And
deck.
that was I played the Kami War twice in my victory over this other deck, so it ended
Nice.
up being exactly what I needed, but
Your
so
opponent,
stupid.
if they didn't know what's going on, your opponent's probably raging. You just
They were
like play
so
mountain,
mad.
plains, forests, like swamp, island, Kami War.
They were so
Like,
mad. It was hilarious. It was so good. Anyway, we should talk about Murders of Karlov Manor because I could talk about Bat
yes,
Heist all day. But
yes.
I think that I will play Bat Heist again once we get closer to Thunder Junction. Uh, unless it's not cool anymore. But it was really fun being a part of it at the very beginning. So go check it out. Super sweet. Okay, now that I've exhausted myself, Jeff, we need to get into the meat and potatoes of the episode. So it is the pregame, and something we do every pregame for every single set is we need to talk about something very important. Jeff, take it away.
All right, so we're gonna be talking about our no pass list. So, what is a no pass list? I hear you asking if you're new to the show. Well, when you're drafting a set, we think it's really, really important that you take the rares that you see that you are interested in playing in constructed. Now, if you're a limited only player, all you do is play limited. Maybe this doesn't apply to you. But for everyone else, you should know we are very pro rare drafting.
Mm-hmm.
You see a rare you want, you take it. And the problem with a new set is there are so many cool cards and there are so many like commons and uncommons that you have to read that you may not have time to decide in the moment if the rare in your pack is one that you're interested in playing in constructed. And so what we have what we do is we set aside a list. We choose the rares that we definitely want beforehand. That way we know when it pops up in a draft, I don't have to think too much. I just take that.
Mm-hmm.
I can sit back, I can read the rest of the cards in the pack for the next 50 seconds or whatever, and I can relax. And it's been really awesome. I loved when we started doing this, just like there was no looking back on that. Like, yep,
Mm-hmm.
making this decision ahead of time is not only like something that's easily done, but also really helpful when you're drafting and you don't know what any of the cards do. And so that's what we do. We like to sit down,
Mm-hmm.
just talk about, hey, what's on your no pass list? What's the card that you will never pass in a
Yes.
draft?
Yeah, and it's it's really helpful. Also, just because like there'll be times where I'm really like looking between two cards, or but I know like something very specific. We always put, and we're gonna get into our no pass list a little bit, but the rare dual lands, no matter what they are, we always put them on our list.
Yeah,
Like always, they will be used no matter what. Now we
except the
are
snarls.
except with the snarls, but we
Never
did,
used those, but I do
yeah,
have a bunch of them.
we do have them because we took them at the time. With standard being a 3 year rotation, we're going to get into a little segment about that later. But this could be a more hotly debated topic. But I still think in general, it's just good to have all the lands. Like you just want the lands for standard. So if you see them, you should take them. Because if you don't take them, you're just going to have to use rare wildcards on them. And rare wildcards are the most important currency in the game.
Yeah,
And you don't want to waste them on something you know you're going to use, as opposed
yeah,
to like that great draft common that like might make your deck like a little bit better,
right.
but your life will be better if you take the rare wild card,
Yeah,
or
that's
sorry,
and that's
land.
yeah. And that's the real me like theory here is there are so many playables in modern sets.
Mm-hmm.
Taking the common that's really great for your deck edges out like the 23rd common that you would have had to play otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
And how much better is it than that common? A little bit, like, okay, a little bit better. How much better does it make your deck? Like a few win percent more
Mm-hmm.
at best. And then you're only playing best of seven. So it very rarely even translates into an extra win,
Mm-hmm.
which itself, you know, only goes so far in terms of how much extra prize you get from it. So it's like
Yeah.
you're more than likely taking the best common is going to get you net you nothing, and taking the rare is going to net you a rare for your collection that you know you're going to use.
Yeah. So, also with this set, we're blessed by the arena gods, really the WotC gods, but um, I believe this will be the same case on arena as it is in paper. I went back and I double checked the announcement video when they talked about this, but the rare dual lands. Now, normally a set will have 5 rare dual lands. That is usually how it goes. We are on Ravnica, and they want to make sure all 10 guilds are represented. So we're getting 10 rare lands. Now, normally the rare takes up the rare land will take up the rare and mythic slot in a pack. However, for this set, it will be taking up the rare or the wild card slot in a pack because there's a bunch of new things. This is the play boosters are now a thing. We have a bunch of new slots for new stuff. Non foil and foil wild card slots are now in the packs. The rare dual lands take up a wild card slot, not the rare and mythic slot, which means every time you get a rare dual, you will also get another rare in that same thing. So this is one of the first times where we can actually get 2 no pass list cards in the
Yeah,
same pack,
it used to
which
be impossible,
yeah.
pretty much.
And so now it's a little dicey. Now we might actually run into a rare duel and another card that we're really interested in.
Yeah,
Like,
and to your point, it's worth mentioning, I guess, that everything on this list is will be rare or mythic
mhm.
because uncommon and common wildcards are not a valuable resource. They're
No.
plentiful.
Mhm. Yeah, you and if you don't have plentiful like uncommon wildcards, you may want to look up your wildcard spending habits, and that will if you're really low on uncommon wildcard slots,
I'm
maybe
not sure what's happening if you
some
if that's
that's what
you just haven't played a lot, I guess. Like your
well,
account's new.
your account's new, but also maybe you're just going hog wild on just crafting anything.
Yeah.
And so you need to check that first and then we'll move on. But yes, this is exciting. i'm I'm excited for the play boosters in general, but I love that now we also have the opportunity to make it so that even in paper people open packs and they're not like, oh, just a
Yeah.
rare land, that sucks. It's like, no, you get that and something else. That's great. um
Yeah. Although it doesn't like I don't think it makes the dual lands that much more accessible
no,
from the standpoint of like it sucks that I have to buy a bunch of expensive cards just to fill up my mana base for a deck. But
it's the yes, it doesn't go to that perspective, but the other side of making
yeah,
younger newer players more excited about cards, it is good, and then they'll
yeah.
just be like, sweet.
I think the play boosters are a good thing for
Hmm.
all Magic players in general. The
Yes.
only people it doesn't benefit are the people who really loved set boosters, but not sure how many of those people exist.
And cheap drafts are a little bit more expensive in paper, but
Yeah.
I will say that Chris Patello was talking about opening the play boosters recently, and he loved them. Chris Patel is a professional Magic player,
Yeah.
um, and he just said this is the best thing ever. Like, I am obsessed. And so and he is a really really sweet dude,
Oh
and
yeah.
I agree
Yeah.
with most everything he says, so I think that I will also love this. um,
Yeah.
can't wait for the pre-release this weekend.
If
Hooray!
you see him streaming, you should try to catch his stream. He's great.
Yes, he is great. He doesn't
And he
play
plays
decks.
like wacky decks a lot too.
I was gonna say he plays decks I'm usually never interested in. Whenever he's
Yeah.
posting cards that are like, oh, these 2 cards together, I'm like, those cards look horrible. I don't want to do anything with
Yeah,
that.
exactly.
Some weird just guy combo control thing.
That
No.
is usually what it is, actually. But
Hmm.
it's like he doesn't usually play meta decks on his stream, at least.
Yeah,
He has his
and
own build
something.
of something.
Yeah,
Usually Jeskai.
yes, which is not my favorite. But anyway, uh, Jeff, let's keep going through. Just like, we can talk about our no pass list. We can talk about cards that we're interested in. Obviously, we harp on no pass list every single time sets come out. So, whether we want to continue down this road or not is fine. Um, but the first couple cards on my list are cards that we talked about 2 weeks ago, which is Kaya Spirit's Justice, which I always put the Planeswalkers on.
Yeah, especially with just one planeswalker in the set, makes it feel so much more manageable of
Yeah,
just take the planeswalker. I mean,
just take it.
probably sucks, but you never know.
I don't even know what this one does. I still haven't reread this card. I
Yeah.
I don't know what it does,
We're
but
not going to try
I'm
to
just
go through that again. It was just
no.
like
It was horrible. But I
every
will
time we
still take
think we
it.
know how it works, we're like, nope,
Mm,
actually, that's not how it works.
no. Um Whew. Gosh, choking on my beer already. It's too early for that. Um
It's just a pills.
it's just a pills. Yeah, I'm just trying to swallow my pills. I need my
Ooh.
pills.
Boo. Hey
God
man, I
damn
thought
it.
I was the dad.
You are, but I've been practicing with my jokes. Anyway, so I'm also taking Delney Streetwise Lookout. That's a card we talked about last week as well. It's the
Yeah.
3 mana 2/2 white creature that cares about 2/2 or 2 power or less creatures attacking and doubling their triggers, things like that. Um,
Yeah, we talked a bit more about this card in our Discord channel
mhm,
briefly, and it got me more excited for it again because I was like,
yeah,
man, this is the card that aristocrats needed.
yeah.
Like, just doubling up death triggers is crazy.
It's it looks awesome,
Yeah.
and I'm just I, I'm excited for white again, as I usually am. But it's
But Delney's on my list as well. But yeah, Delney is a very cool card.
very cool. I do want to skip to a card that's a little bit more controversial.
I didn't even know what this card did when I saw it on your list.
Okay, so Krenko's Buzz Crusher. Now, I really like this card, and
I
but
don't know. It sounds like a vehicle. Hold on.
it's not a vehicle.
Okay, good, good, good.
Yeah. Don't worry about that. No. Though to be, you could put vehicles on your thing. Last set we had the boat, the schooner, whatever.
Yeah.
That one would have been a great card to pick up in the draft. But anyway,
Eh.
Jeff, could you read Krenko's Buzz Crusher so you can tell us why you think I'm putting it on my list?
All right. 2 red, red for an artifact creature, insect Thopter. It's a 4/4 with flying and trample. When it ETBs, for each player, destroy up to one non-basic land that player controls. For each land destroyed this way, its controller may search their library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. Okay. Well, first of all, land destruction.
Land destruction.
Yeah, we love land destruction here. Um, I'm imagining, are you trying to do some sort of like, I have an indestructible land on my side, and so it's actually ramping me kind of
I
nonsense?
mean, that
Because
sounds like a really, that's also sounds like a fun thing to do. Um, but actually, the reason that this card has been getting a lot of hype is because
of buzz.
of buzz. Ooh, a lot of buzz. Kringo's Buzz
Don't worry,
Crusher.
it'll crush that.
Anyway, it's because it specifically doesn't use the word target when it's talking about lands. It
Mm.
says destroy up to one. And so this can blow up a Lotus Field. And this is getting a lot of talk about being, oh, does hexproof mean nothing to wizards now? What's gonna happen next, wizards? You get rid of hexproof. Now something blows up something that has hexproof. Does that mean there's going to be super hexproof, where you can't even choose it anymore, or you can't even touch it in any other
Uh,
way?
no, there's going to be ward.
Yeah,
Ward is the agreed upon solution that doesn't make me want to rip my eyes out every
yeah.
time I play against it.
It's ward. We already know the solution to this, and people have been like fucking tripping balls talking about this card, and I think it's nuts.
You know what?
Um,
Fuck Lotus Field. I love
yeah,
this card too.
exactly. I saw this card. I was like, sick. I can't wait to blow up a Lotus Field. And people are
Yeah.
posting things like, "Oh, this is gonna be the
Oh my
worst."
God, what about the sanctity of
Yeah.
hexproof? Like
And I
hexproof
literally,
is one of the dumbest mechanics they've ever made.
as someone who loves hexproof on like little slippery boggles, uh, this card's awesome. I love this
Literally
card.
ask Morrow what he thinks about hexproof.
Yeah,
I dare
it's
you. Ask him if he thinks it was a good decision. There's no way he says yes. That's like
it's
the least fun mechanic ever.
so.
Next to all the crazy ones in the past that you didn't really know what they did.
Yes, or, and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, Krenko's Buzz Crusher. There's a possibility of playing like a land destruction like Ponza deck in standard. Maybe I think we could find some pieces to it. It's much more viable in Explorer. Obviously, that's where Lotus Field shines.
Yeah,
Shines. I mean, like I don't even think it's a real deck in Explorer because they don't have hidden strings. But
right. I never play it. Like, well, there is a version of Jeskai like that
Stifle.
plays it plays Strict Proctor,
Right,
or
right,
it's
right,
like
right.
blue white
But
usually.
it plays Lotus Field, right?
Yeah, and the idea is you play Strict Proctor and then you play
Hmm.
Lotus Field and you that like triple ramps you. That version is the only one I've ever really seen in Explorer. I would call it like tier two to
Hmm.
three maybe. Whereas in Pioneer, Lotus Field comes in and out of being the best deck in
The
the
best deck
format.
ever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially with like Karin gone and stuff, like Lotus Field. I don't know. I'm not going to speak a lot on Pioneer because I actually don't play a ton of it. But I got so scarred by the tournament we went to like last
Oh
year where
man,
we
when
played
Lotus
against
Field
it.
dominated that thing. I
Yeah, it
remember
was just
going
like
in, I'm like, I
everywhere.
sure hope Lotus Field's not still a thing.
And it
Played
was
against Lotus Field
everywhere.
immediately.
You're like, oh, I guess I can't. There's nothing my deck could do. Sweet.
Fun.
Anyway, Kranka's Buzz Crusher seems freaking sick. A 4 mana 4/4 flying trample that also blows up your opponent's lands. Like,
Also, give me a break. Like Lotus Field, if they haven't won by turn four, like they deserve to be interacted with.
it's
Like,
true.
come on. You're
Yeah,
you're an all-out combo deck. All you do is your entire deck is devoted to you comboing.
I mean,
Like, if you don't have two Lotus Fields by the time I play this, you deserve to lose.
well, hopefully we're playing this on turn three, first of all. But like,
Sure.
um, but no, I don't know if this card's gonna be good. I don't think like I don't even know if we're gonna like look back on this at the end of the set and be like, wow, that card was so great or whatever. But I want it, and if there is anything that's playing this card and blowing up lands, I want to be a part of it. So
Yeah.
it's on the list.
Like
Uh,
if people's complaint was, oh, the best deck is red black mid range, and this gives them sideboard tech against their worst matchup, I
mhm.
could be like, okay.
Okay,
I mean, I don't know if it's their worst match because they just have Thoughtseize. They just Thoughtseize.
that's true.
Thoughtseize gets you, it's the get out of jail free card. But like that's a valid complaint. But the oh no, my land of hexproof doesn't really have hexproof now. That's BS is like such a silly argument to me. It's
Yeah,
like,
especially when this costs 4 mana. Like, come on. Like, I think it's definitely worth playing against those
oh,
decks.
oh
But
no,
like,
there's one card in the entire format that can interact with what I'm doing. However, will I win now? I have
yeah.
one card to worry about.
To be fair, I think their argument is mainly like, well, we see this on more cards in the future, and then it becomes a thing. This is just our first instance of it, but
That
I don't
was the
know.
same argument they had when they started printing anything that interacts with exile in any way.
Right?
They'd be like, no, now exile's just a second graveyard. What are you gonna have? Super exile? Like, no.
No, we just
Do you have any other questions?
that's
Like,
it. Yeah. Well, how many cards actually interact with exile? Like, really? Besides like
yeah,
Oath of the Gatewatch cards.
yeah.
Um,
So,
and that
yeah.
one white card that lets you
It
take.
happens like every once in a while, and usually they interact with cards that they themselves have exiled, or
Mhm.
like it's very specific, like
Things
cards
like that
exiled with
with this.
Ashiok kind of thing. Like,
Yeah, or like you put those cards back in your opponent's graveyard, or like you get to put
yeah,
one card from exile into your hand, but you had to use a card in your deck that only cares about exiled cards, like stupid shit like
right.
that. Where you're like, this card's
This
not good
really,
though.
really isn't a second grade. And there are cards that are like count how many cards you have in exile and stuff. I think was when
Yeah,
it started to be like, this is just second graveyard. It's like, it's really not though.
it just
It's
means
really
this
not.
specific card's good. Um, anyway, which I think is totally fine,
Yeah.
but that seems sweet. Uh, Jeff, there's
Cool.
another.
Yeah, I missed that on my first read uh
Yes, it doesn't say
that it
target.
doesn't target.
Um, there's one other card I want to talk about that's also red. We didn't get to talk about this last week, or because we were doing Drunken Vorthos, so 2 weeks ago. So a lot of cards have come out since then.
Yeah.
Um, Fugitive Codebreaker.
Hmm.
So this is 1 in red for a 2/1 creature goblin rogue at rare. It has prowess and haste. It also has disguise. And for those of you who don't remember, the disguise is morph, but the morph creature has ward 2.
Yeah.
So it is turn face down, but you can flip it up for 5 in a red, but the cost to flip it up is reduced by 1 for each instant and sorcery card in your graveyard. So if you have 5 instants or sorceries in your graveyard, it just costs 1 red to flip up, which is really cheap. Um, and when it's turned face up, you discard your hand, and then you draw 3 cards.
Yeah.
There, coming into the set with knowing the disguise was a thing, and thinking, oh, I don't think that any disguised creatures or like there's not gonna be a disguised deck in standard. There are some interesting cards that are like, I don't know, maybe, but like if you
Now there's no way.
if you come up to a deck that's like turn 3 disguise, turn 4 disguise, you're like, this isn't a real deck. Like
Yeah.
you're not
Or
unless
it's a
you
really weird draw.
yeah, really weird draw. But I think that Fugitive Codebreaker is the one. This is the one disguised creature we're really going to see. In this is I'm calling it. This is the one I think.
If you have to pick one, it's either
Mm-hmm.
like I would guess it's either this or nothing. Um,
Yes.
yeah, I would agree with that. With you might see some people like testing out Aurelia's Vindicator or something, like just the
Yeah.
high powered ones, but then they'll be like, it's so expensive. Um, yeah, so this to me, this is like power crept Bedlam Reveler. And
Okay.
so Bedlam Reveler was like a staple in Modern for a long time. Excuse me, and a Pro Tour winning deck in the hands of Jerry Thompson that
Right.
focused on Bedlam Reveler.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, like this card's a house, man. Um, it's Bedlam Reveler, but you don't necessarily. It's like Bedlam Reveler on the back end if that's what you need, but you
Mm-hmm.
can play it in the early game and just be fine with your 1/2 prowess if you really want to. So, um, yeah, this card, having played with and against, a card that does a very similar thing to the big version of this card.
Mm-hmm.
Um, except you can also like split that mana. You could play this pretty early and then
Mm-hmm.
flip it for just
Flip
one
it.
later. Like, yeah, this has a lot of bonuses.
It's also
Yeah, I
like
think, and it has haste too. Like, yeah, this card's just, I think, very good.
it has the things that like it goes into really 2 decks in my mind. It's like obviously mono red, which mono red already plays Monastery Swiftspear.
Mhm.
So you're already doing hasty prowess creatures. This is just your 2-drop hasty prowess creature that in the late game draws you cards, and you're
This can replace that dork that like makes a aura token or it loots. You know that one?
oh, the charming, yeah, charming
Yeah,
scoundrel.
it can
Yeah,
get
this
rid of
is
that
way
one.
better. Yeah, this is way better than charming scoundrel. Um,
Every time my opponent plays that on turn two, I'm like,
yeah,
I
like
got
that's it's the worst
I
two
get,
drop that they have.
thank God it's not the one that draws them cards when I deal damage to it, because that's
That one's good.
yeah.
Um, so like having this, yeah, this is so much better than that one. You don't care about the one toughness because it doesn't matter. Also, it does prowess, so it usually isn't anyway.
The guy's one
Um,
toughness too, like if it's on the stack,
yeah,
the
it
aura token.
exactly. It wants to have. I guess I was thinking in combat, but yeah, um, it wants to have a bunch of instant sorceries in your graveyard. The burn deck already does that. This will draw you cards for 4 mana. You know, in late game. It's just great.
Yeah, it, it's hard to like explain how good that last line of text is until you play against it, but
Hmm.
it's a draw three when you
Yeah,
use it right, because you just empty your hand and then you flip it for 1 mana,
yeah.
and it's like that just feels busted when it
Hmm.
happens.
Exactly. And it's also the weird, like, play it for 3, your opponent knows what it is, wait till their end step, flip it up, draw 3, you draw another card for your turn, then you kill them on that next turn.
Yeah.
Um, Seems good. I also want to play this card specifically. I think it has a home in Picnic Ruiner. This is like there's been like some dancing around about exactly some of the creatures that we want to have in that deck. And
Yeah,
this is has similar abilities to like the questing druid, which questing druid's like a green red card. Half of it draws you cards, half of it is a creature that you don't really like that much because you have to play a bunch to get it bigger and bigger, and it
right.
just dies immediately. So
Questing
really,
is just pretty expensive for your deck, kind of. Is
you kind of play it for it just needs it's expensive in turns is what it is.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
question
It's
druid, like
slow,
the creature's only good if you've had it out for a turn or two. um this
and
can
you want to do the adventure first, so then it's
exactly.
like, yeah,
So you get through this weird thing of like, and if you get to a spot where it's your only creature you have to play, it's like, ugh, this. I don't want this as the creature on the battlefield. This one I
right.
feel totally fine turn two
Oh
playing
yeah,
it.
you slam this attack for two. Why not?
Yeah, seems great. Um, and having another prowess creature in your deck makes it super great.
I think this
Um,
is going to be one of those ones that's fairly skill testing too, of whether you jam this
mhm,
face up or you play it face like wait and play it face down.
exactly.
Because it requires you to think a bit ahead of how this game's going to flesh out and whether you need the immediate damage or whether you need the cards, whether you're unlikely to get there and you need to refuel in a few turns.
Yeah, it's also like that deck, Picnic Ruiner, would appreciate a 3 mana 2/2 with Ward 2 every once in a while. Like having Ward
Right,
2
just having
stapled
the
on.
ward because you have so many like auras and pump spells and stuff.
Yeah, but we don't want to play one of the shitty Ward creatures that like is specifically just good for Ward. Like you don't want to do
Right.
that.
Yeah.
But because
It'd
this
be
creature
too bad too often.
exactly. Um so like, you know, being able to put this down and then be able to put like an audacity on it, and at the very worst, your opponent has to spend their whole turn killing one creature as opposed to killing two creatures.
Yeah.
Great.
This card
Um
feels like a charm of a creature. It's like three different
oh yeah,
creatures,
that's
and you
cool.
have to
Yeah.
choose which one you want.
Hmm. Yeah, I really like it. And so if any disguised creature makes it into standard, this is the one I think is going to make it there.
I could see this
And
penetrating older formats as well.
yeah, it could
Yeah.
possibly. The text like this cost is reduced by one for blah 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 tends to fit into other formats.
Yeah, older formats do really well with that because they have so many cheap spells. Like, I don't know, is it Phoenix want something
Something
like
like
this?
this.
Like maybe
You do discard your hand, so there's a possibility, but it might be a little bit,
it's tough. That list is pretty tight,
it's
but
it's pretty tight. And it doesn't have flying in that list, cares a lot about flying creatures, so
and it's a little awkward with Treasure Cruise because like
that's
you're
oh you
exiling a
you
bunch of your
exile.
stuff out of your
That's
graveyard.
true. They'd probably much rather have Treasure Cruise, but
And
anyway,
it basically does what Treasure Cruise does anyways. So it's like,
mhm. It is a sweet card. I am definitely picking them up. Like this might even be like the
yeah,
top of the list after the dual lands. I'm most excited for this card, I think.
yeah.
Um, and
This on my list as well. I don't even play like like decks that are, like spells matters themed
mhm.
cards, but I don't think you necessarily have to.
I don't think you do either. That's the
Yeah.
thing, and that's
Like
I
sure it's great if it costs one, but even if it costs like three,
yeah. It's like
you're probably generally pretty happy.
also because you could do it at their end step or whatever. I also
Yeah.
just think that like I most of the time whenever I see the words instant and sorcery on a card, it immediately looks like a blue red card to me. And I
Same, yeah.
tend to gloss over it a little bit. Not to show my play style, but I'm like, I don't care that much.
Blue-red
Um,
spell is just not an archetype I like. Like I appreciate that Phoenix is a great deck. I just don't ever really want to play it myself.
yeah, like
And I like playing against Phoenix a lot, actually. But I
yeah.
never want to be on the Phoenix side of it.
Yes, I've played Phoenix before, and I think I agree with that. And I've always loved the idea of it, I think. But playing Gruul instants and sorceries matter because they're
Now
combat
we're
traits.
talking.
Now
Yeah.
we're talking. Hey, would I rather play Lightning Strike or Sure Strike? I think I'd rather play Sure Strike.
It's more like, would you rather play like 12 different variations on Opt, or
Hmm.
would you rather play 12 different variations on
A
Sure
giant growth.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Giant Growth? Yeah,
Yeah.
that's better.
Yes. Um, I love Giant Growth so much. And so the fact that I'm playing Giant Growth in standard
That is
just
cool too. That's just
I love it.
That's great.
I
You
love
know
it.
what, though? It's not fair. If they're gonna give us giant growth and standard, they should give us lightning bolts
No,
instead
no, no, no. They should give us healing self.
and dark ritual. I don't even
uh,
think dark ritual would be that busted in standard.
in
You can't like ramp in anything good enough to. I guess it's turn two shield right, but that'd be annoying for a lot of people.
in Fire Extinct Obliterator if they want something
No, no,
heavy.
you gotta go for like turn three Ashiok or something. Just like the weirdest.
That's true. That's a fair way to play it.
Yeah. It's like you can play Dark Ritual in standard, but you're not allowed to have Shieldred in your deck. You're not allowed to have like
We should,
Graveyard Trespasser.
this
No.
should be a thing that Arena has where it's like certain cards are banned with other cards, but that you can play
Right.
them separately. You just can't
Like
play them
pair
together.
bannings.
Yeah,
Yeah.
partner bannings. I think
Yeah.
that's a good idea. Hey,
Yeah.
it's the new thing for Arena. You just like send out a list. People won't know until they start trying to put cards in their deck. And it's like banned on Arena or whatever.
Yeah. People will be so confused about why their decks aren't legal.
I was like, what the fuck is going on? Like, no,
Well,
no, just
actually, if you play this card, then this other card gets restricted, so you can only
mhm.
have one.
One,
Yeah.
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 But this other card gets double restricted, which sounds like you couldn't play it, but actually it means you can play two.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. Um, anyway, Jeff, before we keep going, I've noticed that we need some more beer, so I think that maybe we should
Yes.
pour our next one out.
Let's do it.
Um, we have another Pilsner for you from True History because
Yeah.
beer. Um, this is their Farmer in the Sky. So it's their dry hopped Pilsner. It's 4.2%. And I'm excited to have, we love doing these things where you have like a beer and then another beer very similar to it back to back. So
Yeah.
we specifically put these Pilsners together just to see what we think. So yeah, let's crack it open.
Let's do it.
Oh, I kind of love when a beer like spits up on you a little bit.
Mm.
You get to lick your fingers. It's like the Cheeto effect.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good term for it. Mine didn't do that, so
Oh,
now I'm just
I see.
jealous.
Yeah, you should be. It's pretty great. Um, all right, Jeff. Is there any like cards that you want to talk about? Because I could go on forever, honestly.
Oh, same. Yes, there is.
Okay.
So this is a card that I'm interested in. I think it's good,
Hmm.
but I don't know. I could see people reading this and thinking it's total garbage. So the I almost said the case I want to talk about. The card I want to talk
Oh.
about is Case of the Crimson Pulse. Uh,
Mm.
two and a red. When the case ETBs, discard a card, then draw two. To solve it, you have to be hellbent, so no cards in hand. And once it's solved, get this. At the beginning of your upkeep, discard your hand, then draw two cards. Now, for the non-professionals at home, upkeep comes before draw step. So if you're playing all your cards every turn, with this in play, you're drawing three cards a turn.
Hey, I mean,
That's not bad.
talking about Black
Not
Lotus
bad.
and Lightning Bolt and Giant Growth. Can we have
Yeah,
Ancestral Recall every turn?
that's right. For free. Doesn't even cost you a mana.
No.
I've seen this online as Fable of the Mirror Breaker at home. That's what
Hmm.
people are calling it. Just because it's like it looks kind of like a Saga. It's red and it's
Hmm.
sort of similar, but I think it's
It
I
has
think
the
it's a,
it has the middle ability, which is like the one people care less about.
yeah, it sort of has the middle ability too, because
Yeah,
the
it's not exactly
Fable one
just
is like discard any number, draw that many.
yeah.
Um, yeah, so it's a little different than Fable, like in terms of what decks you want to put it in the sense
Mhm.
that Fable goes in literally every red deck ever, and this deck requires something a little more specific.
Yeah.
Um, you want to obviously be playing a deck that gets empty-handed.
Mhm.
I think most red decks satisfy that requirement though.
Mhm.
Um, like I could see this going into mono red as sort of like a sideboard option to bring in against everything pretty much.
Yeah.
And it's just like experimental frenzy on crack kind of thing because it's
Yeah.
three mana.
And
Um,
they're in your hand too. Like I
Yeah,
I could see something where they want to almost play lower to the ground. Not that you should cut Godric in like a mono red deck, but like you shouldn't play cards that cost 4 mana if you're playing this card because
right.
you ideally you want to draw three. Hopefully, only one is a land and the other two are other things, and
Yeah.
you can keep going.
Or even in the late game, like all three spells
Yeah, like
if you have
like
4 or 5 lands.
exactly. So you can play all of them, right?
Yeah.
Because ideally that means every turn you get to draw three, as opposed to draw three once. Ah, I have to keep one card in my hand somehow. All right, I guess next turn I'll just draw one, and then you get in a weird. The thing that with this that like you could get in a land situation where you have too many lands in your hand. And you're like, how do I get rid of the lands? Well, hopefully you just draw another case of the Crimson Pulse, and you get to discard those lands and draw more cards. Um,
Oof. And then just beyond that, like, okay, this is a card draw engine decide in for mono red and that type of
mhm,
stuff. Like you can play this with stuff that interacts positively with the graveyard. Like I want to be
yeah.
discarding this card. Um, or it plays pretty well with stuff like questing druid, for example, where
Hmm.
you get it out of your hand, so you're not at risk of discarding it,
Yeah.
but then you can play it at any point. Um, and personally, I want to put this in a deck with Inti. So, of course,
That.
Inti replaces all your discards,
Hmm.
and so it synergizes with the front half and the back half of this. And I just think this card is I love this type of card because it seems really powerful if you're willing to play the kind of deck it's asking you to play, but it's
Hmm.
not like Fable where it's just
Generic.
generically powerful and just
Hmm.
you feel like you're making a mistake if you're playing red mana and not Fable of the Mirror Breaker, right? Like
Hmm.
no matter if your deck's control, if your deck is mid-range, if your deck is aggro and you're playing red mana, you should play Fable. Like I think that's a little excessive.
Yeah, which is not super fun. This strangely reminded me of Song of Creation.
I
Oh my
love Song
goodness.
of Creation, so
Yeah,
that
you had a Song of Creation deck,
yeah,
and so this kind of reminds me of that, which was a Temur enchantment from Ikoria. We could play extra lands on your turns. Whenever you cast a spell, draw two cards, and then at the beginning of step, you discard your whole hand.
yeah,
So it's kind of like a crazy, like draw lots of cards, but have nothing in your hand for your opponent's turn kind of deck.
yeah,
Um, which is what this is kind of asking of you.
yeah, exactly. And uh like maybe there's like Song of Creation because it drew cards every time you cast something. Most people played it in a comboing shell,
Mm-hmm.
like it wasn't intended to be played. That's not really the thing here.
Mm-mm.
And that's not how I was playing Song of Creation either. I
No,
was playing it like a straight up, we're just gonna draw a
just
lot of
good,
cards and
and that's how
vomit
because
it
I
onto the
I
battlefield.
played your deck, so then that's how I saw the card as well.
Yeah.
But no, Case of Crimson Pulse is also super sweet. I think of the cases, they haven't. None of them has jumped out at me besides this one. I think there's another
Yeah.
red one actually that seems kind of interesting, but for the most part, most of the cases are like, okay.
Yeah. And I'm
I'll.
not, it's one of those things, right? I'm not totally sure how to evaluate them
Mhm.
yet, although they're closer to things we've played with than like when they introduced battles, and I'm just like, I don't know what to make of any of this.
Exactly, that's true. Where you're just
Um,
kind of like, this seems strange, and then the ones that actually get seen or played are like, oh yeah, that's the one that just like generically gets you lands. Okay, so
yeah,
that's
it's like, and I
it's.
think it's probably a similar thing here where the
Hmm.
ones that are good are the ones that you're just happy to play up front,
Hmm.
or the ones that have easy to solves. And
I
I think
think.
this one kind of fits both. Like you're not thrilled about a 3 mana tormenting voice, but the type of decks that want tormenting voice probably don't mind paying the extra mana
Hmm.
to have this huge payoff.
And stay on the battlefield and everything. Yeah, totally. Um, I think that one card that people might be talking about at some point, and when I say people, I mean new players to Arena who play Best of One a lot.
Okay.
We'll talk about the card Case of the Uneaten Feast. Have you seen this card? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I'm looking at it right now,
All right,
luckily,
perfect.
because it's right below Case of the Crimson Pulse,
Well, look at
unsurprisingly.
that. Well, it's a single white for an enchantment case. And it says, whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, gain 1 life. This is a classic best of one
Hey,
new
soul
player. Yeah,
sister.
it's a soul sister. Uh, this is the type of thing where, like, if you were newer to Arena, this is a deck that is everywhere, that you have to deal with life gain decks constantly. The more you play, and the when you start playing best of 3 and things like that, that deck kind of falls apart. Like, it just doesn't have a, besides Angels and Explorer, there isn't really another version of it. It just kind of disappears.
Yeah.
So you
Pops
don't.
up every once in a while, like
Mhm.
but
Randomly.
as a fringe deck.
Yeah.
I can't remember one that was competitive.
It's not really the monster that it feels like it is in lower tiers of, like,
Yeah,
best of one, where it's
exactly.
like you're getting just fucked by angels over and over again. So this card is going to be the bane of somebody's existence.
Right.
I know someone's going to be mad about this. They will anyway, that's not the part that I'm really talking about. But that is immediately what made me stop reading the card originally, and I had to come back to it eventually.
Yeah.
um, so to solve the case of the uneaten feast, you have to have gained 5 or more life this turn. Not that hard in that deck. Obviously, with just this card, that's pretty difficult. But in a
Yeah.
I gain life deck,
In a deck that's built around it. You need this and like another one other spell probably.
yeah. And then when it's solved, it's an enchantment that sits there, and it says you can sacrifice it. And then it says creatures in your graveyard gain. You may cast this card from your graveyard until end of turn. They don't have finality calendars or anything. They just, you can cast them and play them, and they come back. Um, I'm not saying that this is a good card. I don't think this is a card that you're going to have to worry about. I don't think this is a standard card. I don't even know if this is a draft card. This is just
I don't think I would play this in draft.
there's a possible,
Uh, how am I gonna gain 5 life?
you have 2 dog walkers that flip at the same time. So
Fucking forgot about
yeah.
Dog Walker.
So there's a possibility you could, there's some things, but for the most part, it doesn't really seem like a deck or a card really worth. Don't take this. This is our no pass list episode, basically. Don't take this card. Don't play it in standard. It's not really worth it. Um, but I just wanted to highlight that someone somewhere out there will see this card and love it, slash someone somewhere out there will play against this card and hate it.
Hate it. Yeah.
And I do acknowledge that that is happening. Just take a deep breath and know that that's just, you're in a weird magic arena bubble, and there's, you get out of it. You'll be okay.
Yeah,
It's
I've had like friends tell me, they tried Magic Arena, they played it, and they're like, but that life gain deck was just too OP. And I'm like, I don't even know what deck you're talking about. Like,
yeah,
what
and that will
what
happen.
format are you playing? Like,
And I remember that happening when I started playing as well. So
mhm.
it's not something that, like, you should feel bad about if you have those
Oh no.
feelings.
Especially
Um,
like if your deck, it's not going to be optimized
yeah.
and it's probably going to be pretty creature heavy, and you just cannot beat that deck with creatures because you can't race it, and their
Mhm.
creature is going to be bigger than yours.
So yeah, you have to be playing removal and things like that, and you have to kill it before it does the thing that it's supposed to do, right?
Right.
Wow. Like, most of the time, newer players aren't putting those cards in their deck. That's okay, but it's a good learning curve. It's a bump along the road. It's not the end all be all. And don't take this card thinking it'll be great in standard.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to say.
Okay. Moving on, we have a card that I have no idea. I think I've read every opinion under the sun on this card, so I'm
All
curious
right.
to hear
Well,
yours.
you haven't read mine. Yeah, I was about to say, okay, you haven't.
Uh, well, anyways, the card is Urgent Necropsy. We've had some opinions on the flavor of this card, so I know I've talked to you about the flavor of this card
Okay,
before.
remind me. Can you just tell me what color it is? Because I cannot remember where.
This is 2 green black for an
Okay.
instant. As an additional cost, collect evidence X, where X is the total mana value of the permanents that this spell targets.
Oh, right.
Destroy up to 1 target artifact, up to 1 target creature, up to 1 target enchantment, and up to 1 target planeswalker. This card, to me, seems great. It seems like something you would put at most 2 of, and it's not a 4 of necessarily. Not the
Mm-hmm.
type of card that like you slam 4 copies of into your deck. But 2 I can see as just like if you ever get two things with this, you're thrilled. There are going to be the times you get like three or four, and then you take the I get one thing as your consolation prize, and you're probably pretty happy with that. Your opponent slams Shieldred, you're happy that you have this catch-all kind of answer. You play it. The other thing I want to mention is like there are so many tokens. There's artifact tokens all over the place. So like the most common mode for this is like I kill a creature and blow up your clue token kind of
Hmm.
thing for free because I don't have to exile anything more to do that part.
True.
The other thing I want to mention, in case it's not clear, because this wasn't, I had to go look up the ruling after I read this card. It's built into collect evidence that you are allowed to collect more evidence
Yeah.
than, yeah.
Then
So you don't have
mhm.
to hit, like, if I
The
want to
exact
exile
number.
Liliana and Shieldred, I don't have to have exactly seven.
You can
I
get
can do
8.
eight
Yeah.
or whatever, because that would make the card so much worse if I had to have the correct
Oh,
exact mana values in my graveyard
well,
to
that would
kill
make
what I want.
collect evidence just useless
Just
immediately.
awful.
Just
Yeah.
awful.
So I had a bit of a panic attack when I read this. Like, wait, is collect evidence actually horrible? And then I was like, nope, they thought of
Mm-mm. No.
that. I don't think it's like by the time there's something you want to kill, I think you're just gonna have this. Like, I don't think you need to be a self-mill deck. I don't think you need to. You just play the game. If you have nothing in your graveyard, I assume you're winning that game. Like,
That's
or
true.
or you're doing F all and nothing would have
Hmm.
saved you. So.
And you don't even have 4 lands out to play
And
this
you have
card.
nothing else to do. Like,
Hmm.
I don't know, you're in bad spot. Like, what did you keep? Seven lands? Like
Yeah. Yeah.
six lands, urgent
And
necropsy? That's on you, man.
yeah.
Like
So, I am more on the side if I don't like this card. But I can't tell if it's because it looks like it looks like an expensive Golgari card that is bad to me. Though, like,
it looks like a cheap casualties of war to
yeah,
me.
I didn't like Casualties of War. I thought Casualties of War was like too expensive and like was just there.
Casualties was so good.
I know you
The,
love that card.
although the thing I will say is not casualties war hit a land, and that's
Hmm.
mostly why I loved it.
See, if this hit a land, I would be a lot more interested.
Oh, I mean,
Obviously,
this would be
this is
bonkers.
4 mana, kill a land, and whatever else you want if you exile
Yeah.
stuff. So that's not as fair.
And like you could collect evidence zero for the land.
Hmm.
Yeah.
But like when I'm really thinking about it, like the enchantments I want to blow up are like leyline bindings in decks that I'm playing, and like that costs 7, and
Leyline binding is the tough one. It
mhm.
you're probably not going to nail leyline binding with this too
So
often,
I'm trying
unless
to.
you are. If you're a self mill deck, then it's
Then
totally
you
plausible. But
could, but then I'd be like worried about. I guess if I'm playing some of those decks, like I'm playing Tortoise, and Tortoise cares about the lands, and I'm not going to exile lands, so I'm really just returning lands from my graveyard, so that's okay. And then I'm sure there's definitely a creature or a planeswalker easily that I want to get. In blowing up a clue token or a blood token or a treasure, they'll just sacrifice it. But
and like at instant speed, man, like you're going to be getting
that's
two,
true.
three for
Okay,
ones at instant speed.
it's true. Casualties of War was not an instant, right? It was a
Correct.
sorcery.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sorcery.
So that was a big downside to me. Like giant, expensive sorceries, I don't like very much.
Yeah.
So this is cheaper and instant speed. Okay, so I do like that. In a weird corner case scenario against decks that I would like, you could exile or you could collect evidence from the creature that died from first strike and then kill some other stuff. So that would be something I would hate. Um, that would be if someone did that to me, I would be like, wow, holy shit. Okay, so you killed my creature with your first strike creature, and then you got to kill the rest of them in my attack. Or no, your attack, sorry. Anyway, I
I think it's good.
I think it will have to destroy me. I think for me to think that it's great.
Black green mid range maybe back on the menu, as like a legit standard deck again
Yeah, as
instead
we
of
lost it in Lost Caverns of Ixalan, it went away, but it's going to come back possibly.
yeah maybe with Assassin's Trophy as well.
That's true. Yeah, we do have a reprint of Assassin's Trophy.
They will be able to kill whatever they want at any point in the game
That's true.
with Assassin's Trophy in this.
And this, that is true. Also, to be fair,
And
most of
the
the
uncounterable black removal spell.
like, oh right, yeah, yeah, long goodbye.
Yeah.
Um, I think that I'm looking at this as if I'm playing it. I think I need to look at it as if my opponent is playing it against me, which means that it's going to be awful because most of all my decks are like really cheap. And so if I'm playing like Bant Toxic or something, you can blow
Yeah.
up Skrelv's Hive, a Might token,
Which is an
uh,
artifact.
and like one of my creatures for 1 or 2 mana. And
Although,
you
if
have
you
to,
have your guy that they'll get 2 poison counters for that.
that's true. Okay, 2 poison counters. That's nice. So maybe it kills them. So they can't exile as much stuff as they want or destroy. Sorry.
Only if you
Um,
have that one card out.
but
But
also,
yeah,
like Urgent Necropolis only has to exile or collect evidence like a tortoise
like
or like a
like,
shield ring or
like two or
something.
three. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like literally, yeah, it's
Three
like so
in some
cheap.
of these scenarios.
And so then that's not going to be the issue for them, which is the biggest drawback is the collect evidence part. And the decks I like playing are really cheap. So that does come back around to being like, this will be really annoying against me.
And I think
Um,
most
and I'll hate
aggro
it.
decks are spread out like that now, where it's like
Hmm.
they do have multiple targets for this. Because typically you're
Hmm.
like, well, against aggro, it's not great because it's a 4 mana kill a creature,
Yeah.
and against other decks, it's not great because you may not be able to collect enough evidence. I think both those things are not true anymore. Like modern day aggro decks, they'll have blood tokens and
Hmm.
treasure tokens and clue
Map
tokens,
tokens.
map tokens. They'll have some sort of artifact creature. They have some sort of enchantments that give them some like play against not
Exactly.
just dying to board wipes.
You're playing like
Like,
assemble the players and stuff like that
yeah,
to be able to play more creatures and things like that. Sure.
taking like for example, a war leader's call off the board is probably going to be
Yeah,
pretty
that's
pretty
pretty.
important.
I could
Um,
literally in that deck you get a war leader's call. You get the thing that makes what is her name? Chandra's mom. Oh gosh, Pia
yeah,
Nolar.
yeah,
And you get a Thopter token, all
yeah.
for the price, and you get a freaking Quintorius.
There you go. Get them all.
Bing, 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 bing. What is that only for
Um,
the sweet mana 10? I think collect evidence 10.
yeah. But if you want to be a little more humble, you can do like 4 and you get War Leader's Call and you get to clean up a Thraben Inspector or whatever the new Thraben Inspector is called.
Novice Inspector,
Novice Inspector.
I think. But yeah. Okay, all right. So I'm waiting
I
for
like
it.
it. I
I
like it.
I this conversation has helped me like it a bit more. When I first read it, I was definitely like pretty low on it. So
I think like I'm not that disappointed in 4 mana destroy any permanent,
mhm,
which is not quite the low end of this because sometimes ostensibly you will want to kill a leyline binding and you can't.
mhm,
Um, but it's pretty close to what the low end of this is. It's like
mhm.
I don't know, whatever the other end kind of stuff. I guess that was
Yeah.
exile, but like you know what
Yeah, I guess with it
just a
you
four
could
mana destroy anything.
it still hits beans and stuff, so that's good.
Yeah.
Um, but it's
Fuck,
harder. Like
fuck
I think
beans.
I think
Hate that card.
like I think that domain is probably its hardest matchup because like hitting
Oh man,
leyline
if it hit
binding.
lands though.
If it hit lands, that would be a lot better. But leyline binding, hitting like obviously the big
But that's why
hitters
you
like
have Assassin's Trophy against them.
oh that's
Downgrade their
true.
tri-lands to single basics.
Or literally just destroy their leyline binding to get something back and
No,
give
no,
them a
no.
basic.
Always hit a land if it's an option.
I mean,
If a
yeah.
card allows you to target a land, you must target the land.
Hmm.
You
Unless you
know that,
can't
Zach. Come on.
because it's a lotus field.
Fucking Lotus
Um,
Field.
I did
If
want to
only they
talk.
would print answers to Lotus Field.
I quickly want to talk about a card that like I think has been flying under the radar, literally. And
Oh,
we'll see, this card, there is a deck that it could go in,
I
and
think I know what card you're talking about. I'm looking at it right now, so
I
let's
don't
see.
know. I don't know if it is actually the card that you're thinking of. I mean,
Okay.
I well, possibly
Is this character married to somebody who is
in the
in the
what?
story?
No, it's not. No,
Okay.
at least I don't think so. It would be really like if they are married to somebody. Oh, I want to read that story. The
Interesting.
the card I'm actually talking about, and why I was kind of confused by this, but Doorkeeper Thrall.
Okay.
So
Not who I was thinking of.
not not married to somebody.
I was
But this
thinking of
is
Tomic.
Tomic. No, 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 no. So also just for everyone to know, actually this is good. This is before we talk about Doorkeeper Thrall. So Tomic, Voha, and what's his name? Melik. Those three cards are not draftable cards. If you
Oh,
want to,
that is good to know.
these cards are
I guess.
they're in pre-release kits. So
Okay.
they are standard legal, but
Gotcha.
you cannot draft them because they're not in the set proper. Um, so that's really important to just don't put Voha, Jaws of the Conclave, Melik, Reforged Researcher, and Tomic, Wielder of Law in your no pass list. You will never see them. They aren't in the
I
set.
mean, you can put them on the list, but
You're just never gonna
yeah.
draft them.
Oh,
Um,
there's Doorkeeper Thrall. I hate this card.
yeah. So
Fuck this card.
Doorkeeper Thrall is
It's
a
so good.
it's a 1 and a white for a 1/2 creature thrall. It has flash and flying, and it has artifacts and creatures entering the battlefield don't cause abilities to trigger.
Ooh.
So when I
Flash, get out of
Mhm.
town with that.
Yeah, I love the flash with this. This is like Atraxa on the stack, Doorkeeper Thrall. This
Yeah.
is like their you play a card that has an ability. They try to play their Trishana's Tidebinder. You play Doorkeeper Thrall. Like
They try to they try to put an extra card into their deck with their bat. Doorkeeper
Doorkeeper
Thrall.
Thrall. Um, so actually, I'm wondering if like when
If you start the bat run and someone
Mhm.
plays this, you literally must concede that. Like you cannot get any cards from that.
Yeah, you have to concede and just take the loss, except for the
Yeah.
fact that
But
I
Zach
wouldn't
is no
concede.
conceit, so he would just slowly get pecked down by this one too.
Except for if they attack me, I attack them back. So then we just stare at each other, you
Yeah.
know? Because I have
And maybe
lifelink on
you'll
my
get like
bat.
four bats out there and you can attack them back for four.
Yeah, maybe. And
And
they
they keep attacking for some reason.
for some reason. Anyway, the reason I was thinking Doorkeeper Thrall could be useful is a couple of those reasons that I said. I also love hate bears. So hate bears,
Yeah.
whenever I see good hate bears, especially flash hate bears, oh buddy, 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 buddy,
I just
my
hate the
friend.
like the blue-white flash deck that's just gonna like nullify
Mhm.
all my cards every time I play them. Just like
Yeah. This is also good
exhausting.
against it's good against the flash deck slash the like any sort of Esper decks that are playing both a Spyglass Siren and the Deep Cavern Bat because it's
Right.
a 1/2 with flash, so you can eat them. All the other flash creatures have one toughness and will trade. This one does
Yeah.
not. Um, it trades with Malcolm and it trades with like Fairy Mastermind, but it eats the bat and the Spyglass Siren if it hasn't been explored on upon. So I liked it for
Actually,
that
this is
reason.
pretty bad. This does nothing against Inti, so I'm okay with it.
That's true. It doesn't,
Yeah.
um, but it like doesn't help some of the other cards in NT's deck. What
It's
is like
sort of okay against Harvester. It depends whether the
Harvester?
Harvester comes down first or the other way around. But
That's true.
they have that like, who's on the play kind of battle because I kill this for free if well not for free for my Harvester if
Yeah, if they play it
or I
first, but
just
you're
attack through it if I don't care about it.
that's true.
It
Actually,
doesn't hit
Harvester.
my Gix, doesn't hit my Mishra,
Mhm.
doesn't hit most of my cards actually.
That's true. And this is the thing I was going to say is that the other half of Doorkeeper Thrall is that it's actually not super good. Like originally I was like, oh, artifacts and creatures, that's great. Oh, but it doesn't stop enchantments. Like it doesn't stop all ETBs.
Yeah.
It doesn't stop battles, ETBs, and
I
stuff
think
like
this
that.
card is really good. It's one of those cards, it's like it's classic sideboard card because it's extremely good against certain strategies and
Yeah.
next to useless against other ones.
Hmm.
Like it's, Stormcrow against some decks, and it's
Yeah.
uh,
Literally.
just like unbeatable against other decks.
Hmm. Oh, Stormcrow.
There are some decks that cannot win if this is on the battlefield and they must remove it, and there are
Hmm.
some where it is Stormcrow. Like
Yeah. So flashy Stormcrow, really fast Stormcrow.
okay, yeah, it's like, lightning bolted. The crow got hit by a lightning in the storm and got a little faster.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But yeah,
Because that's how that works. When you get hit by lightning, you actually get super speed.
it's true. It's true. That's how the Flash became the Flash, right? I'm pretty sure.
Yep, that's canon now.
I know everything about DC comics.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, just pissed off a lot of people.
how many fans do they actually have? Anyway, so yeah, I think he's neat. I like him. Jeff, I have some stupid cards to talk about. Do you have some serious ones before I talk about stupid stuff?
Ooh, serious ones. I kind of like blood spatter analysis. Surprise,
Okay.
surprise. Black and a red enchantment, ETB deal 3 damage, so to a
Hmm.
creature opponent controls. Whenever a creature dies, mill a card and put a bloodstain counter on this, then sacrifice it if it has 5 or more counters. When you do, return target creature from your graveyard to your hand. This is just like the classic. This is like a removal spell, and then at some point it's gonna get me something back.
Raise deal something.
I don't think it's good enough to penetrate like the Explorer black red deck.
Uh,
Um, but it could, like in standard, I could see this
I
being
think
a one of removal spell that you play and just sort
mhm.
of get value of later.
The fact that the last word in the entire card says hand really fucks it up for me.
I mean, if it
If
was, I know everyone's expecting it to say to play.
mhm.
That would be very, very good if it said to play. I think to hand is good enough. Like, because you paid 2 mana for this, man. You kill something, you're already happy with that.
I know.
Then it just sits there, and as the game, like, I don't think you want to put this in an aristocrats deck kind of thing and try to build around the death counters. I think you just put this in a black red deck. Creatures gonna die, things gonna trade.
You draw your
If
Inti
like this
again.
isn't just your creatures, it's whenever a creature dies. So it's like whenever
Okay. Oh, you do
thing
mill a
like
card. Okay. Mm,
yeah.
all
So
right.
like things are happening, and it's like a removal spell that you play in the early game, and then it just randomly pays you off with a free creature later.
All right. And really, it says like you only need 4 counters because it gives you the first one for free.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. All right.
I
I
mean,
do
assuming that the 3 damage kills the
kills the
creature you're
creature,
targeting.
and assuming that you
With
play it when they have a creature. That's true.
right. Yeah.
Because
I
if
guess I guess you could. Yeah, I guess sometimes you just want to get this out there, I guess, but
yeah,
that seems weird.
there might be a situation where you just want to.
That would be a pretty corner case scenario.
Yeah, there's. I don't know what it would be, but who knows? Anyway, okay, I like it a little bit better. I wasn't thinking about the your opponent's creatures, to be fair.
I don't think you're jamming 4 of these. I think this is like one of
Yeah,
your removal suites in just a black
yeah.
red kind of mid-rangey
I
thing.
think one of fun of sounds just about right.
Yeah, and then some
Um,
days, some games, it's gonna get you back your shield red, and you're just gonna be like, "Haha, you thought you killed this, but it's back."
it's back. Look what's up. Um, I want to talk about a one of fun of deck that's
Okay.
just the fucking worst thing ever. Um, we talked about this card before. Case of the Stashed Skeleton.
Yep.
So this is not on my no pass list necessarily, but if we're in a situation where we just want to pick one up, we might just pick one up. Um, we've been making jokes about
That's
having
it.
it.
That's a separate list that we have.
Yeah. So the stupid list. So the reason that I'm interested in this card, we talked about this 2 weeks ago. Um, It's just to refresh your memory. It's the case that it's one in a black. When it enters the battlefield, it creates a 2/1 skeleton, and you suspect it, which means it has menace and can't block. And then when you control no suspected skeletons, you solve the case. And then when it's solved, you could pay 1 in a black to sacrifice it in Demonic Tutor at sorcery speed. So the reason I want this card is because I literally think that it'd be fun to build like a standard skeleton deck.
Yes.
So it's this card with the enchantment from last set, the skeleton that gives all skeletons haste and +1/+0.
Hmm.
That like keeps bouncing back to your hand. And then also there's another skeleton in the set, Hunted Bone Brute. So we didn't talk about this card, but this honestly, this is another disguise creature that could totally penetrate standard. It's gonna be really good. I
Somehow I
swear.
doubt it. Let me find Hunted Bone Brutes.
All right, do you want to read Hunted Bone Brute for me because it's gonna be a lot of fun while I search something else up?
Let me find it. Let me find
It's
it.
black. It costs two
Is
when
it a
the.
rare?
It's a rare, yeah.
Oh, I've been looking. I was looking at the commons and uncommons. Okay. Oh, Hunted Bone Bird.
There you
Two
go.
and a black for a skeleton beast, 6/2 with menace. When it
All right.
enters the battlefield, target opponent creates 2/1/1 white dog creature tokens. When it dies, each opponent loses 3 life and disguise for 1 and a black. Of course, it's part of the hunted
Mhm.
sort of cycle.
So all the hunted cards give your opponents creatures that can kill the creature that you just
Yeah,
made, essentially.
yeah.
So the joke is, oh, it's hunted. However, this one specifically says when it enters the battlefield, it also has disguise. So you could
Hmm.
disguise it and not give your opponent the dogs.
I kind of
Also,
love the flavor of that, that like they disguised themselves and got away from whatever was hunting them.
mhm. That's good. I thought you were going to say the flavor of there are dogs trying to eat the bones of a skeleton, which is what I
Oh,
was
that's good
thinking.
too. Yeah.
They're like, oh, of course, there's a bunch of dogs
Got
running after this bone beast because they're like, look at all
yeah.
these
Oh my
bones.
God, hit the mother load. Yeah.
um,
Yeah, that's great.
so yes, playing this on 3 as a 6/2 menace normally sounds good, except for you gave your opponent a bunch of creatures. So you'd probably just want to disguise this first. Now, granted, this skeleton deck's not very good. Do you want to know the other skeletons we have in standard currently? Because besides the.
There's the conscript.
Yep, so you have Cult Conscript from Dominaria United. That's our 1 drop. We have Persistent Specimen, which is also another 1 drop that
Oh,
comes
that
back
card's
to.
terrible.
It's really bad.
Cult
Um,
conscript I can kind of get behind. I
yeah.
don't know about the, the persistent specimen.
I'm just reading the skeletons in standard, buddy. I'm not even. uh,
We got to play them all. We don't have options.
Yeah, we have Fleshless Gladiator, which is the one in red 2/2 from All Be One. Also a really bad
Yeah,
skeleton, but it's
yeah.
a 2/2 for 2. We
Hey,
have,
grizzly bears looking pretty good.
yeah, looking pretty good in our skeleton deck. Visage of the Dread. All right, so it's an enchantment, or sorry, it's an artifact that comes down, and you get to like uh, rip stuff out of your opponent's hands, but it flips into a skeleton dinosaur horror. So,
Okay,
okay,
okay.
there you go. We have Ukbenbach, the Great Mistake. That's a skeleton. That's
Oh,
blue black. Yeah,
okay.
that's
Forgot about. I didn't
it's a
realize that.
it's a 6/4 vigilance menace. And then the only other skeleton creature we have in standard is Throne of the Grim Captain, which would definitely
Mm,
not fit in the deck because
no.
we only want to
Yeah,
play skeletons.
maybe not that one.
It turns out the skeleton is not one of the 4 creature types that the Grim Captain cares about.
So you need a skeleton merfolk, a
Mhm,
skeleton dinosaur, a skeleton pirate, and a
mhm. Skeleton
skeleton
vampire.
vampire.
So really, it looks like we have the 2 enchantments we like: Hunted Bone Brute, Cult Conscript, and Ukbenbach. Those are the only cards we can play.
Even Ukbenbag is like for constructed. I don't know about that.
So then maybe we're just playing
But,
4
but you know
cards.
what? The rogue stack had like 3 different rogues in it.
That's true. So we play Cult Conscript, we play Hunted Bone Brute, and then the 2 enchantments that care about skeletons, and everything else is removal spells and counter spells.
I've seen decks labeled dragons that have 2 different dragons in them.
That's true.
And,
So
and once upon a time, there was a deck that was named after just a single card based on what was it like? It was Zergo and Ojutai, and
Oh yeah.
the deck was called like dragons and dorks and
Orcs and dragons, yeah.
yeah, and it's like there's
Uh
literally one
one
card
orc.
that is both of those things.
But that was the whole deck was built around it. All right,
Yeah.
okay. So yeah,
So you
I
know what? With kindred naming conventions, you're allowed to be
kind
pretty
of do
thin
whatever you want.
on the creature
So
type.
that's a plan we have. But we're building the bones of the deck. Wink, wink. Uh, so
As
that
long as you don't have more shieldreds than you have skeletons, I think you're allowed to call it skeletons.
I think it's fine.
Yeah.
And then Thunder Junction will be.
Oh, just chock full of skellies.
I'm sure we'll get some desert skellies,
Yeah.
skellies and shellies.
Oh, I love it. Now we have to build this deck.
That's so good. Skellies and Shelly. You have one shieldred of each
Yeah.
one of each shieldred, so there's
Yeah.
two,
Yeah.
and then you have the rest of the
That is
skeletons.
Shelley's.
Yeah.
Said no Shelley's. We're allowed to have one.
Yeah, yeah. I love that. That's so funny. Oh,
Now we have to build this deck.
I'm definitely gonna try. I'm gonna try, and then you're gonna do a better job, and I'm gonna play yours after. But I think that's what the plan
It's
is.
just gonna be all the same, very few limited cards that we have access to. But
Yeah. Is that gonna be the deck building challenge of like who makes the better skeleton deck? Skelly and Shelly deck?
whose deck is worthy of the name Skellies and Shellies?
Skellies and Shellies. Oh, we gotta do it, man. This is a golden opportunity.
Yeah, we could really make some waves here.
Why does it
There-
why is making waves like why are we talking like we're surfer bros when we're
Yeah, I
making
don't know.
magic decks?
I just brought that
Dude,
out
this
of
is
me.
totally gonna make
This
waves,
is rad.
man. Okay, sick. That was great. We're finishing our beer. So, Jeff, do you have anything else you'd like to talk about before we go to our last call?
Um, let's see. There's got to be a good card to end on here. Oh, here we go. I want to talk about the card Illicit Masquerade. So this is 3 and a black enchantment with flash. When it enters the battlefield, you put an imposter counter on each creature you control. Whenever a creature you control with an imposter counter on it dies, exile it. Return up to one other target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Okay, first of all, what a wild card.
This is wild. Also, the art is fucking awesome.
That's what I was gonna say. This is like my contender for best art in the set.
Mm-hmm.
When we do that, at
Mm-hmm.
the end, maybe my mind will have changed. But just seeing this immediately, I was like, "What? That is amazing. That is really striking art."
Mm-hmm.
And then the card's kind of cool too. I'm like, I don't think you're gonna see this in like one-on-one, like kind of standard stuff, because it's just a little too weird. And there's cards that are just more straightforward, powerful. But it is a powerful effect.
It is. The one thing I want to say about this card because I also thought this was really sweet, and in any other standard, I would be like, this card's awesome. I want to build around
Right,
this.
like maybe, yeah.
The only reason I think that this card won't crack it is because it says whenever a creature with an imposter counter dies,
Hmm.
exile it. And all of our control decks exile
Everything,
everything.
yeah, everything
Everything
exiles.
exiles.
And then a lot of the stuff can exile this if they wanted to,
Hmm.
like, and also has flash, so it's just like,
Yeah.
get out of
So,
here.
so like this works only in an attrition battle. So like maybe this is like a sideboard option if you're playing like attrition battles against another black deck, where you're both trying to kill stuff. But I don't know. Like the main idea. Okay, so obviously I'm saying that because it looks like a card that you want to play right before a board wipe, so they wipe the board and then you get all your creatures back. Essentially, they're not your creatures; they're ones that were put there from other means. But you still get a bunch
But
of you refill your board.
yeah,
But it might have to be more of a weird situational thing where it's like someone's trying to kill one of your creatures, you play it, and then you
Right.
just say, every creature on my board, I'm going to get something else back at some point. It might not be right now, but it will be at some point.
Yeah. Because as it turns out, this does nothing against Sunfall.
Yes,
Yeah.
literally nothing. And farewell.
Yeah. But
Depopulate, though.
uh yes, depopulate.
Side this in,
Um
just in case they play Depopulate on 4, then Sunfall on 5.
yeah. I was gonna say no witnesses. Boy, does this counter
Oh,
no
yeah.
witnesses. Uh, but yeah, I was thinking of this more in like again, could you do this in like an aristocrats thing? So you play this, then you sack all your
Okay.
creatures, but you like keep bringing back more creatures because you know, like sometimes you need 18 blood artist triggers to win the game, but you can only get 10.
Hmm.
This will solve that for you.
That's true.
Um, so like if you are in control of the killing
Hmm.
my own creatures, this could be pretty powerful. Problem is like aristocrats decks are pretty tend to be pretty tight. You need a lot
Hmm.
of creatures and then you need payoffs and you
Hmm.
need like facilitators.
And so, like,
And
two
there's
of
not a
these.
lot of room for anything else.
Hmm. Especially like the way I was going was almost like, okay, you're playing white black, you play two of these, and then you play things that flicker it so it comes back and you get to put the counters on stuff again.
Right, and
Um
then you get to like rinse and repeat,
yeah.
and you have a Bartolome out there
Hmm.
to
To soak
sag
up a bunch,
everything and bring
sack
stuff
everything.
back. And
If we had like a Flicker Wisp card that would come in and blink it or something,
that would require
then
such a stacked graveyard though, because like
you
you
exile so many
exile the
things.
stuff when it dies.
That's
So like,
true. You'd have to basically go in cycles where you like bring a bunch of stuff back and then flicker it at the end and
yeah,
then sack all the things again.
it's a
But
powerful effect. It's just it asks a lot of you, and currently in standard, there are a lot of very powerful cards that ask nothing of you.
mhm.
So
So then I'm wondering, is this more of a like commander focus card for like just against board wipe kind of
probably,
things?
probably as it turns out, I think maybe with like a shorter standard period,
It could do
and
something.
you could
Yeah.
see like there's going to be a reasonable amount of time when this is there and Sunfall is not,
Hmm.
and like no Sunfall replacement will be there.
Yeah.
Like maybe they were expecting
Oh,
no witnesses
don't
to be the
don't be too excited about no Sunfall
yeah, it's
replacement
going to be
here.
Sunfall, but like you get a clue token as well.
No, just wait. We're going to a desert plane after this. So like either we're gonna get like a Sunfall variant in Thunder Junction, be like
It's just a Sunfall reprint.
yeah,
It's just
it's like I don't know. It's not Sunfall. It's like
it's an
Sunset or something.
outlaw token
Yeah,
instead.
it's just like Sunset, exile all creatures, and
Yeah,
then
you get a cowboy
bullet. You get a
token,
bullet token.
bullet token, yeah, whatever the token is
Yeah.
for. It probably is a bullet token. God damn it.
I can't wait till there's guns and magic. It's gonna be great.
Yeah, yeah. The world needs more guns. That's
Exactly. I'm an American, God damn it. Magic hasn't had guns in forever. I
yeah,
have the right to guns and magic.
yeah.
Fucking
Oh, there's definitely at least one person who feels that way.
totally. They made a magic set too. Anyway, we'll we'll see what comes up with that in the future. But for right now, it's Murders at Karlov Manor, and we're having lots of fun. We're building skellies and shellies.
Yeah, I'm excited for this set. I think there's
Oh,
some cool stuff for standard, but also the limited format just looks kind of cool. Like
I
there's
think
split cards, Morph is
mhm.
back.
We are going to talk a lot about that. I have a lot of thoughts on limited, and um, I will definitely have a lot more next week after I play once. Actually, no, that's not true. I'll play a bunch by then. Um,
Yeah.
I'm gonna
Oh
have
man,
I'm gonna have
next
some.
Thursday.
Sorry, I was thinking about my pre-release, but no, I'll have drafted full days of
Yeah.
draft by next week. Um, it's gonna be sick. This is the best time to play Magic, as far as like the cycle goes. Is right when you're getting into the new set.
Yeah. Like right now is the worst, but in like a
Hmm.
few
In
days,
two
it's the
days.
best.
Yeah.
Yeah. The night is
Uh,
always darkest before the dawn, you know.
exactly.
Um, Real quick though, I just wanted to make sure I touched on this because I forgot to talk about it 2 weeks ago, and I don't know if we brought it up again. But
Okay.
another thing I'm excited about, Smuggler's Copter will be coming to Arena
Oh,
with
you're right.
this set. It was like last week I was like, I'm gonna start by talking about Smuggler's Copter and then I'll get into other stuff. And then I
Mhm.
forgot and I never talked about Smuggler's Copter.
I'm glad
Awesome. This
we.
card should have already been here.
Yes.
Um, love that it's coming and it's I think gonna shake up how people build Rakdos and Explore, and I'm
Hmm.
excited to be exploring that myself. So
Well, there you go. Yes. So stoked for that. Can't believe, obviously, it took so long and that it was even off of Arena in the first place. Makes us look like little cavemen. So
yeah.
embarrassing. Um, but yeah. Anyway, I'm glad we buried that deep in the episode so that
Yeah, yeah,
only
just
the special folks who stayed this long got to hear that.
yeah.
Um,
It's just for you guys, just for you.
yeah, it's very our special little moments here at the end of the episode. And now we're going to talk about beer.
That's right.
Uh, let's go to our last call. Let's rate these beers that we've had this evening. As always, we rate our beers on a scale from bronze to mythic, just like the tiers in Arena. However, this has nothing to do with what tier you are in currently. This is just a fun way to rate beers. Everybody's in different tiers at different times, so don't feel bad when we say that bronze beers are trash. They're horrible. They're disgusting. You have to spit them out. You have to kick over the can and pee on it because it's just the worst thing you ever had in your entire life.
Silver beers. These are just bad or boring also lands you in this category. So
Mhm.
macro brews will sort of by default be considered silver beers.
Gold beers are fine, but you won't really drink them again.
Platinum are solid, and you would drink this again.
Diamond beers are exceptional. You like them a lot. You tell your friends about them.
And mythic, these are the best of the best. These are the Skellies and Shellies of the beer world.
I don't know if that's going to be the best of the best there,
All right,
buddy.
just the Shellies then.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Wait, whoa. Jeff saying
Whoa!
that Shelly is a mythic rated card? All right.
Yeah, but not the one you think I'm talking about.
Literally just it's a mythic card because it is a mythic rating.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, but I just mean Shieldred, not Apocalypse or whatever.
oh, gotcha, gotcha. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Okay, Jeff.
I would never admit that card's good.
Yeah. All right. Can I see any of your deck lists? All right. Here we go. Yeah, we have to pick a beer for our favorite tonight. I think I actually have mine. I'm ready. Right here. All right. Here we go.
Okay,
3, 2, 1. Just
Farmer
a
in the Sky
pills.
for me.
Ah.
Interesting.
So I thought this was going to be interesting
Yeah,
because I really like Just a Pills. It tasted like a pills. It
yeah,
was tasty.
it is what it is.
It
Yeah.
is what it is. It was tasty, delicious, and I liked it a lot. I was expecting to like Farmer in the Sky significantly more, like
Mhm.
so much more. And I tasted it. I was like, oh, that's it's good.
That's
I
so
could.
interesting. I had like the opposite, well, the same first experience.
Hmm.
And then my first sip of Farmer in the Sky was like, oh yeah, that's better.
Yeah, that's so funny because I was like, oh, it's kind of the same, but like not as crisp and clean. So
Right. The dry hop does muddy that part, right? So if
yeah.
you're looking for that like traditional lager, crisp, clean, and in this case, it was also not cold. Uh,
Hmm. That's true.
so,
That's true. Because we did have
uh,
them out on our desk for the whole episode. We did not stop. Um, but like it still tasted like cold enough. I think that
yeah,
it didn't.
yeah, it wasn't that. It wasn't like it was warm, but
No,
it
for
wasn't
sure.
straight from the fridge cold. Like I think
Like
you kind of
just a pills
imagine
was.
that when you think of a
Yeah,
lager
that's
or a
true.
pilsner.
Also, like I guess I was also thinking that they did such a good job dry hopping it that it's such a subtle taste
Yeah,
that like it did not. I was expecting it to be much more hoppy and like blasty. I think it was it was mainly like I was expecting something else and it didn't really seem to be where I was thinking it was going to go. And so I kind of liked the first one a bit more just because of that.
I think that's totally
Um,
fair. I was gonna say I'm glad we did them like
mhm.
like this. because I don't know if I would have tasted the dry hopped if it wasn't right after a Pilsner that wasn't dry hopped. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like,
Yeah.
because it was pretty subtle. But after the first one, I was like, oh, I do get the difference though. Like, if I
Hmm.
just drank the dry hopped Pilsner, I might be like, it's just a Pilsner.
Hmm.
But because I had it right after the one that is just a Pilsner, I was like, I do see the
Notice.
difference.
Also, it did seem like the body felt a little bit bigger, which is good most of the time. Um, and there were some differences, but for the most part, I think maybe a lot of times I'll think like, oh, dry hopped. Like I just in my mind, I'm like, dry hopped. I'm gonna like it because it's
Right.
like all the flavors of the hop, none of the bitter, just about, most of the time. Like
Yeah,
that's kind of
not
the reason
not
why
as
you do
much
that.
for sure.
If you don't know what dry hopping is, it's like when you put the hops in during fermentation instead of during the boil, and so that you're getting some of the more tropically fruit, um, the aromas and the flavors of the hops, as opposed to the bitterness, which gets the boil brings
Yeah,
out a
the
lot of the
bitterness
bitter notes.
happens when you boil off the
So
outside.
I tend to love dry hopped things, and so I immediately thought that this was gonna what I was gonna like more, and so I was pleasantly surprised that, in fact, no, I liked the just a pills. Yeah.
Yeah, I liked them both pretty close. I think I
Hmm.
just like liked that I could taste the subtle difference after having the second
Yeah.
one after the first.
Hey, good on you,
Um,
pal. Nice
yeah,
job. Good
I took that
palate.
one sip and I was like, "Hey,
Hey.
I got it! I got it! I get what they're going
Yeah.
for."
With that, pilsners are not my favorite thing, but I definitely show this to people who love pilsners. But that
Yeah,
also brings it down to a platinum because I'm not. I think for both of them probably.
yeah.
Um,
I think it's one of those weird like points where I don't know if I will drink this again, so it doesn't
mhm.
necessarily meet platinum definition, but I would recommend it to people.
Yes.
So it meets Diamond's definition. So I think
Hmm.
it's pretty reasonable to put them anywhere within those two
Exactly.
things. I think this is a really good example of the style. So you
There.
know what? I'm just gonna be nice. I'll give them both Diamond,
Okay.
but like not in the sense of my personal rankings, in the sense
Gotcha.
of like trying to take myself out and be objective of like,
Totally.
is this a good Pilsner? Which also, to be fair, I haven't had a ton of Pilsners. So, like every
It's
time
true.
I drink Pilsners, I think of like the super boring guy from Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Yeah. I'm a pilsner guy. I'm a
Yeah,
pilsner guy. Did
and
you
it's
not
just
know
like the
this?
most boring guy ever. And they're like, of course, his drink is
It's
Pilsner. Like,
pilsner. Could you be more boring? Uh,
yeah,
so, and I think that like I've definitely had pilsners that were like just not great.
yeah.
Like,
I
it's
have
just
had
not.
some like just funky flavors in
It's like,
there.
what is going on? Why
It's
is
like it
this?
is supposed to just be clean and crisp, and
Yeah,
this
and
is
like tasty, and these ones have definitely those qualities of like,
yeah,
yeah, this is in the running for like best pilsners ever. Best pilsner ever being like
yeah,
Stella, like
yeah. Just like
which I think Stella is a fantastic beer, and it's always safe to order a Stella because it's going to be
yeah.
good. Um, but anyway, I'm just saying
It was
like
the runner up, I think, for our
it
summer
was
service.
it was a runner up. So very good beer, also very great beers here. So
Yeah,
heck yeah,
I
good
was in a good
beers.
mood today.
Yeah, that's great. I love it. Um, Also, like there are people in your life who probably, if you're into craft beer, there are people in your life who might not be into craft beer, and it's difficult to find beers that you both agree on. I think this is a place to go. True History is
True history would be like the perfect brewery to take them to,
mhm.
right? Like
There's
you're
nothing
gonna find
crazy.
something you like, I'm gonna
Hmm.
find something I like.
Yeah, it's just like, hey, stepdad or whoever,
Yeah.
let's
Yeah.
go down
For
to
me, it's my
the.
brother, so
Hmm. Yeah, hey brother, let's go down to this brewery. It's just good old beer flavored beer that's delicious. Don't worry about any
yeah.
of that milkshake IPA or like coffee stout something something. You know.
Godspeed in Toronto is also pretty good for it on
Oh, that's
kind of
true.
kind of the other end of the city.
Yes, Godspeed is. We've had many beers from them as well. We should actually go back and get some more.
Yeah, we
It's
should pick up some
probably
more. I'm sure
time.
they have a whole new collection of lagers for us.
Ooh, they're delicious. Japanese brewery. But anyway, with that, Jeff, let's go to last call. And when I say last call, I mean closing time,
Yeah,
because
it's
we
like we
already
just did
did.
that. You want to do it again? All right, I'm
Let's
ready.
go. Let's go back.
Yeah.
It's closing time. You can always reach us at Arena Regulars on Twitter and Instagram.
You may also find us on Arena itself under the username Arena Regulars Podcast.
If you want to find me personally, you can find me at Zulberg. That is Zeulberg on Twitter and Instagram. And Monday through Wednesday, I stream on Twitch at Regular Zach.
And the best place to find me is on our Discord channel. I go by Regular Jeff, and the link is in the show notes down below.
Mm-hmm. Please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. Follow us on Spotify. Leave us a review there. But the most important thing is that if you like the show, please tell your friends about us. We just love to get as many people in our community as possible, and just really looking for folks that are like-minded, like us, who like beer and like magic. This has been the Arena Regulars.
Reminding you that if you want to be a step ahead of the standard metagame, you should start brewing your Shelleys and Skellies list right now.
Good night. All right, that's fine.